Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. If you love conspiracy theories, we have author Kevin Buckley here from Canada by Skype with the secret sign of the lizard people. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, Denise. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. This was a fun book to read. So it seems that you're very much into conspiracy theories, Kevin.
Yeah, well, I'm into analyzing them, but not necessarily believing them, if that's what you mean. Yes.
So this is going to be a trilogy, right? Called the Tinseltown Tall Tales.
Yes, it is.
You have another series that you're working on?
Yeah, I'm working on book 2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
It has a working title of The Lost Song of the Zombie Shapeshifters. So, as you can probably tell, I'm ignoring all of the advice from the book gurus to keep your titles brief and to the point. I kind of like long-winded titles because I find them amusing.
They're great. I loved how it played into the story. So tell me about the two main characters, Leafy and Beefy. Is that your take on
Yes.
American detectives?
It is, yes. It's also my take on America in a way. I love America, by the way. So let's just get that straight. I mean, that's why I based 2 of my stories, now 3, in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is the United States is larger than life. It's just so much more interesting than anywhere, really. So I think my 2 main characters represent, or I like to think that they represent, 2 sides of the American coin. And Detective Green, which is Leafy, is a slightly left-of-wing Democrat, left-of-center Democrat, and Detective Goodness, he is a slightly right-of-center Republican. So, and they both have their ups and downs with regard to that. I think they represent both sides of their story, the political spectrum. That's just one tiny bit. They also have a lot of other differences, as you may have noticed if you read it.
Yes, they definitely had their differences. They were quirky, funny. They had a lot of different puns for different conspiracy theories about their murder investigation. And why did you pick Tinseltown or California in general to start the series?
Well, getting back to my original point there about the United States being such an interesting, larger-than-life place, there's no larger-than-life place more so than, I think, Hollywood, in my opinion. Maybe New York. I've been to both places a few times. But Los Angeles and Hollywood just, it's almost unbelievable how far away from my English reality they are. But I suppose that's what fascinated me. I've been so close to the deserts and the Southwest and the mountains and all that good stuff. It's just an incredible place to write a story, to situate one story there. So much to do and see.
Wow. And it seems there's no shortage of conspiracy theories. How do you keep track of which side of the coin these guys would be on with any of the different theories that come up in the investigation? You even have aliens, you even you did a really good job with one of our ex-presidents.
Yes.
So how do you
Yeah,
investigate
well,
all of
yes.
these theories?
Well, first off, I'm a news junkie. I have become so. I don't know why. I watch a lot of American news. Again, I think I'm a little bit obsessed with America. I really am. I don't know why, except to say all my previous statements that it's just a very interesting place. I watch a lot of CNN. I occasionally tune into Fox just to see what those guys have actually got to say. Yeah, so how do I sort out the conspiracy theories? Well, I keep going back to my original character uh, selection, if you like. My big black detective, Beefy, well, he's a skeptic. He's not going to be taken in by all of this tomfoolery. He doesn't really believe in too much unless it's right in front of his nose, in front of his face. It's tangible. He can put his finger on it. Leafy, on the other hand, he's a little bit more wide-ranging in his thoughts and his beliefs, and he's open to some of that stuff. He's not an out-and-out conspiracy theorist. However, he's more open to it, and so he treats it with a little bit more respect. In the second book, of course, which I'm writing right now, their attitudes have changed considerably because of the events that happened in the Mojave Desert, and that certainly changed their life, and I explore that in the second book. Yeah, so there you go. Next question, please. I told you I ramble.
That's wonderful. So tell me about the canine in this story, because he actually sniffs out lies. Is that actually something that's true?
Yeah, that's actually my old dog, Tucker, uh, who is possibly the smartest dog on the planet. I'm not entirely sure, but he was incredibly intelligent. And I think he's caught me in a few lies here and there, especially when I told him that there are no treats, or your dog food's going to be a little late today, or stuff like that. So he sniffs out my lies. So I thought maybe the detectives could use one in the book as well.
I love the way that all
Yeah.
played out. That was good storytelling.
Well, the thing is with dogs, as everybody knows, is that their ability to sniff things out is immense. I mean, it just goes. There's a gigantic list of what they can sniff out. So why wouldn't they maybe be able to sniff out lies? Perhaps people give off certain pheromones, signals, body language, vibrations, auras. Who knows, right? For them, maybe it's not so far-fetched. I don't know. I seem to think it's not.
Maybe not. What about your background? What have you done for career-wise that helped you develop this storyline?
Career-wise, well, going back to my early schooling days, did a little term in university, studied logic, which really didn't help me too much. So I think life has helped me to write books. I really do. Living life, looking at people, just the interactions of normal human behavior.
That's a good point. And you're really from England, right?
Yes.
What was it like growing up in England?
It's certainly different to America, I would imagine. It's tiny. I mean, it's just tiny compared to, I thought it was big, but it's not. I grew up with the shadow of the Second World War, really. Unlike North America, England took a lot of damage during the Second World War. My parents and my uncles and aunties all lived during that time, and they actually had experiences. But I can remember clearly on the rough streets of Liverpool, where I'm from, playing on bomb sites. The places had been bombed. And so we didn't know that as little kids. They were just these open spaces that you could go and play. And so we did, I think living in England when I was a kid, it's probably just the same now. The influence of Hollywood, American movies is immense. It's much more immense than any political personage or whatever. The movies is really, I think, what spreads the word of America to us little kids when we're little kids. It's still with me today. That's why I'm writing a book based in the United States. I suppose maybe it's wishful thinking. Maybe I wish I'd gone to live there. Maybe I should have. I don't know. But anyway, I'm here in frozen Canada, which is great. Don't get me wrong. Which is great.
Canada is great. That's funny. And you also, are you a musician as well?
I am, yes. Yes. And the music's helped me with, there is creative processes in music, of course. I write songs. I've had releases in the past. Strangely enough, I just got an email from a entity or a company in Seattle who want to re-release a bunch of our old tunes. Amazingly, I just cannot believe it. But there you go. Never say never is what I say. But it's going to be on vinyl. So vinyl is making a bit of a comeback these days. Mm-hmm. Getting away from the digital thing, getting back to the analog sound, that sort of thing. So there you go. It's absolutely amazing what comes out of the blue, really. So, yeah, we might have an album out pretty soon, which is great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So what type of music, what genre do you really like?
Well, I've been through a lot of different types of music in my time, but my roots are blues, R&B, Nashville and Memphis, all of those good guys, B.B. King, of course, mm-hmm. All of those guys that have shaped the blues scene. So I've gone through a whole bunch of phases, and guess what? Here I am, back in my blues roots again, doing what I always liked anyway, So that's the musical thing. I think the musical thing has helped the writing a little bit because there's always this. You polish things. You do your rough draft. You go over it again, do your own edit. You polish and polish and polish, and you rely on other professionals in the industry who are specialists in their own way to do what they do best, and that applies to writing big time. Like my proofreader, God bless her soul, it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and you just can't be too thin-skinned about it, and take the constructive criticisms for what they are and move on and use them to better yourself as a writer, So
Absolutely. So, how long did it take you to write the first book?
About 2 years. But I'm not a full-time writer. You know, I have to work for a living. I have to make money, pay the bills, all that good stuff, like everybody else. So yeah, about 2 years. My first couple of books, which were not published, I used to get up really early in the morning, which is crazy now that I think about it, before I go off to work. So I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning with my good old dog Tucker. We'd light the wood stove in the winter, and I'd write them by longhand. And then whenever I get some time, I'd lay down what I'd written in longhand and type it out and put it in the manuscript, you know. So, writing takes time. I've been on Facebook a few times and on social media here and there. I look at some of the youngsters there, and God bless them, but they're writing books in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Well, I can't even get an idea together in 3 weeks. I mean, really? You're putting it out that quick? Holy Lord, which is great. I can't do that, though. I just can't.
Well, you don't need to. More thought than that. You don't need to feel bad, because some authors have taken 20 years to write their first books. So 2 years is good.
Yes. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah.
All right. So you had a thing that many are true words spoken in jest, and that seemed to happen a lot. So you can see how your background with music and the blues added to it, because it had that like salty sway to it, and then just the puns coming in, the exchange between leafy and beefy. It was cute.
Yes.
So how did you come up with the whole alien part too?
I tend to have a propensity to write dialogue, and I got to watch that. I've got to cut that down in this new book. But I really, things occur to me in the form of dialogue, like ideas. Mm-hmm. So I can actually hear a conversation going. It might be schizophrenia, I'm not sure. But so now I'm getting out of that. I still like dialogue, I really do, but I'm trying to cut down on that, put a bit more narrative in there, maybe go a little bit more serious about things. Now that they've both seen the Lord in the desert and experienced the consequences, but they're still pretty funny guys, and so they will continue to have their little puns and rips at each other, but not quite maybe so bad and at the drop of a hat, you know.
Oh, and before I forget, what was the name of the band you were in?
Well, I've been in lots of different bands. The band I was just referring to is a band called MI5. So that's the letter M, the letter I, with the number 5, MI5. So I was also in a band called Star-Bangled Spanner, which was a little pun on, of course, the American anthem. Mm-hmm. Lots of different bands over the years. The last band I was in was called Toys of a Man-Child. Another band would be Rabid Dogs, which referred to another dog of mine, strangely enough. Lots of dog stories in this interview, right? So when I first came to Canada, the English boy who knows nothing about anything, this is a big hunting area. So guys and women or like to go out hunting things. You know, that's the way it is. Well, we don't hunt anything in England except maybe foxes, and that's kind of frowned upon. Anyway, I got myself a puppy, and it was a hunting hound. And cut a long story short, I shouldn't have got that puppy because he's a working dog, not a domestic dog. but he got bitten by a rabid fox right in front of my very eyes. This is my introduction to Canada. So anyway, he was quarantined for 3 months and did fine. So for whatever reason, Rabid Dog came up, and that was the name of the band. Anyway, that's my little band story there.
That's a scary introduction to the area.
It was. An interesting aside on that is that I got a Agriculture Canada came and visited me because of it, and said, "By the way, have you got a cat as well?" And I did have a cat, and the cat was nowhere near, had nothing to do with anything, but the poor old cat, he had to be quarantined for 6 months because apparently cats are they tend to infect human beings more than anything else. Anyway, I don't want to get onto the subject of rabies. I was really trying to keep things light, but it does exist, and that's the reason for that band name, anyway, for what it's worth.
We can definitely see how your life experiences play into this rambling story. It's so funny and just twisted. You're really good at it. And abstract facts they spew in. That was great.
Well, the quirkiness, I think, comes from my decision to cross genre lines with impunity and with disregard, which is probably going to shoot me in the you-know-what from a marketing point of view, because how do you even categorize that? But I do like to mix and match the genres: murder mystery, sci-fi, crazy conspiracy stories, aliens, for Lord, all of that stuff and more. Some of which may or may not be true. I really don't know. I'm not proposing that it's true or untrue, actually. I just think it's some music. So that's what I'm trying to do, basically, is have a bit of fun, make people laugh.
Well, you definitely did that. Especially the way that some of the conspiracy theories played out. They just made you giggle because you're like, oh yeah, I guess you could look at it that way.
Well, I think we've all been bombarded with conspiracy theories one way or another. And some of them may or may not be relatable. Mm-hmm. You really got to guard yourself these days. I mean, what is the truth these days? What is the truth? Who's telling you the truth? I like to think I'm telling you the truth right now. And I like to think you're telling me the truth right now. But when you look at the news, who's telling you the truth? How do you choose to get your information on this world? Where do you get it from? So you really got to make those judgment calls. And it's not just conspiracy theories, of course. It's just exaggerations, wildness, what's happening in the world right at this moment, which is really not probably not a good subject to talk about. But I mean, this one of my favorite books is 1984 by George Orwell. Read it several times. Couldn't get a more depressing book than that. But you know what? It's so applicable. I mean, we actually have a word called Orwellian. I mean, that's how influential that book has been, and how some of that stuff keeps coming true, in my opinion. Maybe not in 1984, but in 2022, I think, that stuff is happening. That's on a more serious note. And I suppose some of this is contained within my book anyway. So,
but I like how you argued both sides. It gives you a different perspective. It makes you laugh at things that, when they really happened, were kind of horrifying. So,
yes.
It was really enjoyable.
Yes.
So thank you for.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. I really am.
Oh, I really did. It was fun to read. It just had that like whole like goodness thing going on, and it was a clean read. It was fun. There's lots of twists and turns.
Yeah. So if you're looking for explicit sexual content or explicit violent content, I'm probably not your guy. So, I mean, there might be some implied, versions of that, but nothing explicit. I don't get into that. I don't think you need to. I really don't. To tell my stories anyway. So.
Yeah, no, they were fun. They're entertaining, funny. I just really love the argument on both sides of the issues that came up.
Yes. Well, I tried to present both sides. I did, but I have my own opinions on that. If anything, I suppose I'm more of a left-leaning person, but not excessively so. But enough that I like to think I care about other people and the world.
Well, thank you for sharing so much about yourself and how you created this crazy fun book. And until next time, keep asking questions. And if you just need a little escape, the secret sign of the lizard people will totally make you smile.